So do you need the Pass Jeux? This is the QR code to access certain areas during the Olympic Games. The good news? Most likely not. You should be okay, and don't let this deter you from visiting and enjoying the Olympics. There's really only two reasons why you need a Pass Jeux. The first are those who are operating motorized vehicles who have to access the red security perimeters. I'll talk about the security perimeters in a little bit. The second reason is probably the one that may concern you. This is for all pedestrians who need to access the gray security perimeter along the Seine. From July 18th to July 26th, you're gonna have to have a Pass Jeux. I'll show you the site so you can check and see whether or not this will impact you in a little bit. Millions of people are descending upon the City of Lights, and Paris is putting on the most unprecedented opening ceremony in history. Over 300,000 spectators are going to be along the Seine, welcoming all the athletes for the Olympic Games who are traveling in via boat parade. Security is going to be tight, and there's going to be security perimeters set up along every venue and competition in Paris and the region. So I'll explain how those perimeters work and how you can navigate it. Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue. I'm Quan, and this is French Crawl. Security perimeters are going to be set up for every venue and competition site during the Olympics. For the most part, these are going to be specific venues, and there's going to be a few open areas like the marathon, cycling, and the opening ceremonies, and they'll have a very specific map for those events. So each security perimeter is going to consist of 4 zones, and they're going to be designated by color. So if you look on the maps, you'll see gray, black, red, and blue. And I'll go through each of them so you know what to expect. So gray zones are basically the venue itself. Only people who have tickets for the events during that time are going to be allowed within, and then those who are accredited as well. If you're a cyclist, you're not going to be allowed in this area with your bike. So the black perimeter surrounds the gray perimeter, and this is what they call SILT. And SILT stands for Strengthening Internal Security and the Fight Against Terrorism. So I'm looking at this as kind of like the wall that then gets you into the gray perimeter. So to access the black perimeter, you'll need a ticket as well. For cyclists, you won't be able to enter this area, but they're going to have parking for your bikes here. So if you plan on cycling to events, you can park your bike here and then enter with your ticket. So the red perimeter is the next one. It's a larger area. The important thing to know about the red area is, as a pedestrian or a cyclist, you're free to move about. You don't need a ticket for any event. You don't need a Pass Jeux. You don't need a QR code. You don't have to worry. Now, if you're operating a motorized vehicle, they're going to have a Pass Jeux to access this area. This area is basically meant to cut down motorized vehicles. That way, it just kind of frees up the area for pedestrians to go about and go into the competition areas. And finally, we have the blue perimeter. And for the most part, same thing applies. If you're a pedestrian or cyclist, life goes on. You'll be fine. You won't need a ticket for any competition. You won't need a Pass Jeux. Move about freely and go about your day. The blue area affects motorized vehicles, so you have to have a reason to be there. You won't need a Pass Jeux, but you will have to show a legitimate reason to be within that area. So you need a Pass Jeux if you're operating a motorized vehicle that's accessing the red security perimeter. That's the perimeter we talked about earlier already. The only other time you'll need a Pass Jeux is if you're a pedestrian and you need to access that gray security perimeter along the Seine from July 18th until July 26th. Now, people who live along that area, who work along that area, they're going to have to apply for a Pass Jeux. The other reason why you'll need a Pass Jeux is if you're staying along that area, or if you have any reservations at places that are within the gray security perimeter. So if you have reservations or appointments, you'll have to get a Pass Jeux to be able to get to them. But if you can plan around those dates, after July 26th or before July 18th to visit those places, then do that. That way you don't have to worry about getting a Pass Jeux or not. But if you know that you'll need a Pass Jeux, go to the site. The application is there. It's pretty straightforward. It'll tell you what you need to enter. I'd imagine it's going to be really similar to getting a health pass. And so if you were in Paris during that time frame where you had to get a health pass, it was a QR code you had to apply for. It was really straightforward, and I thought the process was pretty easy. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal to apply for it. Just enter in the information and what they're asking for, and they'll send it to you. There's a couple of important things to note here. Now, if you're planning on going to the opening ceremony, you're going to have to get to the gray security perimeter. Your ticket is going to get you in there. So you don't have to worry about applying for a Pass Jeux. So just know your ticket on that day, starting at 1 o'clock, should get you into that area. So how can you check? The city has actually set up this interactive map that you can go onto and see where all the security perimeters are going to be. So here's the interactive map where you can go and take a look at to see whether or not you fall within an area where you think you need a Pass Jeux, or you can also look at the security perimeters to plan for your travel. So if you're on this site and it's in French, just make sure you're up here and you switch over to English. And once you do that, it'll update. Once you go to the map down here, there's also a switch to English here. So you just click on that and it'll switch over to English. Now, to look at the actual map, they've got a couple different ones. They've got public transportation. This is going to show the different lines and then what stations are closed. So the ones that are X'd out right here, stations are closed, and then what's to avoid, and then ones that are going to be busy. So this is going to be real-time data that they'll eventually have during the Olympics, so you can kind of plan out your journey. If you click on road, it's going to switch over to the map to show you what the security perimeters are going to look like, the ones that we had already talked about. So this is all the security perimeters for all the venues in the Île-de-France. The Île-de-France, if you zoom out, is pretty much the entire region. And so all the different venues are going to be on this map. So if you look up here, there's July, there's August, and then September, because the Olympic and Paralympics are going to run from July 20th to September the 8th. That's going to be the time period that they will have all this stuff in effect. So you can pick the day here, and remember, it's going to go, first number is the day, and then you go to month. So the important days to remember for the opening ceremony is the 18th. So on the 18th, along the Seine, this red and gray perimeter and blue perimeter will be activated. And they'll be building the grandstands along the Seine for visitors and spectators to sit at. So before that, the 17th, you can see nothing's activated. But we'll go to the 18th, and on the 18th, everything's activated. So if you are going to be in Paris from the 18th all the way until the 26th, so let's go to the 26th, and I'm going to choose noon. So from the 18th until the 26th at noon, this is what the map's going to look like for that area. And so remember, red means that if you're a pedestrian or a cyclist, you can travel through it. Red and blue, it's going to be restricted for motorized vehicles. So you'll need to have a Pass Jeux if you are in a motorized vehicle trying to get through these areas. Now, this gray area, that is where pedestrians will need a pass to get access to. And then these are Olympic sites, venues where competitions would be held. So that's the Arena Bercy. And then we'll go along, and you can kind of see along the Seine where the gray areas are. And you can use this map to kind of determine that. So we'll go along the Seine here, and that's Ile de la Cité. This is where Notre Dame is. And so if you wanted to go to Notre Dame during this time, you're going to need a QR code to even access this area. And this is City Hall, this Hotel de Ville. Hotel de Ville. So you could zoom in further to really see the streets. And so we'll just kind of go along it. But you can see this is a big metro because the RER is here. And so, and then on the left bank, that's also left bank is on this side of the Seine. Right bank is on this side of the Seine. You're kind of facing east to west. So east to west, everything's kind of south directionally is the left, and then everything's north is the right. So the other way I kind of remember it is they'll say rive droite ou rive gauche. The word droite is D-R-O. There's an R, so just remember droite has an R, it's the right, and then gauche is left, since it doesn't have an R. So that's just kind of an easy way to remember if you don't speak French. But then if you go along this area, you can see the gray area. It encompasses the Louvre and the gardens, Tuileries, and then it's pretty extensive. So, and then once you get to certain areas, it's really just close to the river, and it ends over here. So it goes quite a ways. So just make a determination by checking the address box here, typing in your address. You'll see if it falls within there. I've got an address that I just kind of copied, and I'm going to paste it in here. So this address, which I pasted, 5 Rue de la Manutention, falls within the gray area. So if you happen to be staying here or needing to get here from July 18th until the 26th, you're going to have to get a Pass Jeux to access this area. Or if you're going to like the Louvre, well, that's Palais Royal, but if you need to get into the Louvre, you'll also need to get a Pass Jeux. You'll need a QR code to go to the Louvre, but you'll have an appointment. So get your ticket. You'll have an appointment, and then you can apply for the Pass Jeux, show them your reservation, and then have your QR code ready to go, and you'll be able to access it. So one thing I did want to show you was on July 26th, the day of the Olympics, at 1 o'clock, this map is going to change. And so watch. The perimeter, the gray perimeter grew. So did the red in certain areas. So just be aware that on this day, the 26th of July, things will change at that moment. It's going to be bigger. There's going to be less access. And also remember, if you have a pass for the opening ceremony, you'll be able to get into this area, the gray area, at 1 o'clock. And you won't need a QR code. You won't need a Pass Jeux. Just bring your ticket, and you'll be able to access the scène and then the area for the opening ceremonies. So outside of the opening ceremony, we can take a look at other days. So let's look at Saturday, the day after the opening ceremony. And you can see, depending on the day that you choose, you can kind of see how the maps change because whether or not there's an event or not. Depending on the day you're going to a certain site, check that date. Let's check out August the 3rd. Looks like there's going to be a big race on that day. It might be cycling. So then you can see like cars will not be able to enter these red areas. Let's check out the Stade de France. This is where track and field athletics is going to take place. So you can see, if you look at the time, if I can get there, let's look at 6 in the morning. 6 in the morning, the first event I think is going to happen at 10 in the morning. So at 6 a.m., there's not going to be any perimeters activated. I believe this is where the Olympic Village is. And so as we get closer, 2 hours ahead, 8 o'clock, you can see the blue perimeter is activated, the red perimeter is activated. So cars will not be able to access that area. And you can see The gray areas, that's going to be restricted to people who have passes, tickets to go to the stadium, to the Stade de France for the for the athletic competitions. And then these other areas, you're free to move about without a pass, blue and red. So pedestrians, cyclists, you're free to move about. It's just really for anyone who's operating a motorized vehicle. So that's pretty much how you use this map. You click on the date, the time, and then you can kind of see what's activated during those times, and then you can plan accordingly. So use this site in conjunction with the transport app that they've released, and you'll be able to kind of plan ahead or see in real time the trouble spots or how long things are going to take, so you can kind of like give yourself enough time to get there. I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to watch this video. I know it's a lot of information, but I hope you can use it to help plan for your journey to the Olympics, or if you're visiting Paris in general during this time frame. I'm going to put a few of the links in the description, that way you can click and go to those sites and determine whether or not you need a Pass Jeux, and then the actual Pass Jeux site. That way you can click on it and apply for it or read up more about it. So have a great trip to Paris. Enjoy the Olympic Games. À bientôt.